So my portfolio just hit £20,000. And with all the crazy things that have happened throughout October and the start of November with the US election and all the rate cuts that have been happening, I'm going to show you how my portfolio has fared over these past couple of weeks. I'm going to take you through my portfolio on Freetrade, Trading 212, and a consolidated version on my spreadsheet. And I'm also going to show you all the dividends that I received in October. Let's get into the video. But before I get into the video, if you're new here or you regularly watch my channel but haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It really helps out the channel and I'm really hoping to hit 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. Now let's get into the video. So let's first take a look at my portfolio on the Freetrade app. So as you can see, my portfolio is sitting at £12,400 on Freetrade. And if we take a look over the last month, you can actually see that I've been down £250, which is kind of crazy. And it's all started around the middle of October right here. And you can see here on the 7-day that this right here would be the spike and then the dip again after the US election. Now let's just take a look at some of my positions in the portfolio. So my biggest position in this portfolio is Realty Income. And currently they're down 3.38%. And they've had a really bad time over the last month, down 7%. I think round about the time where the Fed last month decided to hold rates, they've actually had a bit of a drop off since that time. If we have a look recently around the time of the election, they've dropped off quite a bit. But then you can see a tiny little spike here where I think that's because the rate cuts again in November. So potentially we might see the stock price grow a bit more. But I'm a bit surprised that the stock price dropped this much. So I'm really hoping that we will see a bit of a stock price return over the next few months. And then my next biggest is VWRL, which is actually my biggest position in the entire portfolio. But in this portfolio, I only hold 13 shares. So currently I'm up 19%. So during October, there wasn't much growth. But if we look here, there was a big spike. And this was because of the US election. So after Trump's victory, the whole of the US stock market just went up. And then my third biggest position is actually Microsoft. And over the last month or so, they were pretty flat, I believe. So they started off quite reasonable. And then when they got to the end of the month, they actually announced a dividend. So I think they were paying out $9 billion as their dividend for this quarter. And so you can see there's a big drop off there. It would have been a good time to buy into Microsoft at that point, I would imagine. I'm not going to go through every single position that I own, but I'm going to make a bit of an observation here. I have a few UK holdings. So the likes of Unilever, GSK, SSE, Lloyds and Tesco. And what I've noticed is that since the UK election, I've seen a bit of a drop off in their stock prices. This might not be related, but it's just a bit of correlation that I've seen. Again, I'm not political really at all. I'm just making an observation here. And then another one of my observations that I've made over the last month or so is that although there's been recession fears in the US, the stocks that I hold from the US, which are the big tech companies like Microsoft, Google, and Amazon, they've actually performed reasonably well over the last few months. I think in October, Microsoft didn't perform that well. But if we look at the likes of Google, over last month, they're up 10%, and Amazon, again, they're up 11%. So I think what I've seen is that big tech companies are performing quite well in the US. And I mean, since the US election, everything's gone up. UK stocks are actually going the opposite direction, which might be a bit of a warning for what's coming over the next few years, or it might just be fears of what's going to be happening over the next few years. And we don't really know what's going to be happening. Another thing I want to note is that I will be moving my Freetrade portfolio over to Trading 212 because my other portfolio is on Trading 212. But Freetrade keep pushing that time period back where I can move over. So I've been checking it every single month to sort of see whether I can move my portfolio over. But what I keep seeing is that they're moving the date back. So it used to be the middle of 2024, I think it was like June, and then they moved it back to July, and then August, and then September, and then suddenly they removed the month altogether, and it's now become Q4 2024. Now that we're in November, or as we close in on December, they're probably going to push it to early 2025, but it's really annoying me because I was really hoping to move all of my portfolio into one place at some point. But now let's move over to my portfolio on the Trading 212 app. So my portfolio in Trading 212 is sitting at £8,209. That is £7,331 invested and free funds of £878. So there has been a new addition to this portfolio. I'm not really going to go through it too in depth because I actually made this addition in November. So it's not really part of the October update, but you can see that I've added a position in the S&P 500. This is just an ETF that holds all of the S&P 500 companies. And then the other positions in this portfolio are the Franklin FTSE Indy ETF, Rolls-Royce, the VWRL, which is the Vanguard FTSE All World ETF, and then Visa. So over the last month or so, the Franklin FTSE Indy ETF hasn't really done that well. It's down about 4%. I have added a bit more to this position during the month, simply because I've seen it going down and I do actually still believe in this ETF. But there will be a soft cap on the percentage that I'm going to hold in this ETF, simply because I don't think it should be any higher than that. I'm not going to go into the S&P 500 ETF just this month. Rolls-Royce, this month up 4%. My entire position is up 22.2%. So Rolls-Royce is still performing really, really well. If I'd bought in any earlier, it would have been great, because over the last year, it's up 150%. I did buy in quite late, but I still believe that this company is just going to continue growing. So it's a good holding for me now. And then VWRL, this month up 2.7%. As you can see, the big spike after the US election, because there's a big part of the all-world ETF that is actually the US. But VWRL is a position that I'm adding to every single month, and we'll see that position grow month over month. And then finally, Visa. Visa is my single biggest position other than VWRL, so it's my single biggest stock position. It's now sitting at over £2,300. This stock I heavily believe in. I do believe that Visa is one of the most dominant companies in the world. They have a duopoly with MasterCard over all payment systems, and I believe that this company will continue to grow and grow and grow. There is the DOJ lawsuit that was actually hinted at last month, where they were going to go after them for their monopoly on payment systems, but that was the DOJ under the last president, which was under Biden. And now that Trump is going to be president, I think that this is potentially going to be dropped, and Visa will just continue on their sort of monopoly rampage, and they'll just continue to grow and grow and grow. So that's the portfolio on the Trading 212 app. Now let's go take a look at both of the portfolios put together, all consolidated on my spreadsheet. So this is my portfolio all consolidated together on this spreadsheet. As you can see, my portfolio value is £20,521, which is made up of £19,600 of portfolio value and £915 in cash. It's better to see down here in this graph, where you can see that I've invested £17,400. I have a gain of £2,188. The market value is £19,600, with the cash of £915, brings it up to the value of £20,500. My total return for the portfolio is 15.66%, or £2,728, and that is made up of the gain in the market of £2,200 and the £540 I've made in dividends. My portfolio is now officially made up of over 25% ETFs. So that was one of my goals, make an ETF a core position of the portfolio, which was 25%. Although VWRL is only sitting at 19%, my total ETF positions are actually over 25% at 26.7%. The portfolio is made up of 29.5% UK stocks and 43.8% US stocks. Like I said, the biggest position in the portfolio is VWRL at 19%. My second biggest position is Visa at 12%. My third biggest is Realty Income at 11%. And then it goes round in this pie chart like this, all the way around to Amazon, down at 4%. Funnily enough, my biggest winner is actually Amazon, sitting at around 80%. And then my second and third biggest winners are Google and Microsoft, sitting at around 65% and 55% respectively. My biggest losers in the portfolio are Pepsi, down at -8%, Realty Income now down at -4%, and the Franklin FTSE Indy ETF down at -3%. I have 15 holdings in the portfolio with the new addition of the S&P 500 ETF. Now let's take a look at the dividends. In October, I received £19.39, quite a big drop off from my biggest month in September of £73.88. So far in 2024, I've received £307.65 in dividends with 2 months to go, and that beats out my 2023 dividends of £216. Now, it doesn't increase by that much, simply because I switched away from purely dividend investing towards the end of 2023, and I switched more towards a growth dividend mix in my portfolio. I think if I'd stuck with my dividend portfolio, I probably would be somewhere around £1,000 in total dividends. But because of the switch to a more growth mindset in the portfolio, I actually made quite a bit of gains in late 2023 and 2024 because of that change. So I've been investing now for just over 2 years. So it's 2 years and about 2 months. And in my first year of dividends, I received £128. In my second year of dividends, I received £315. And in my third year of dividends, which is only 2 months, I've actually received £93. So we're already closing in on my first year of dividends entirely. So just taking a look at some of my bigger positions in the portfolio, VWRL is now sitting at a value of £3,700, which is by far the biggest position in the portfolio. And again, that's just going to continue getting more and more and more. I eventually want to have that equal with an S&P 500 ETF because I believe the US will outperform most other markets in the world. My second biggest position at £2,400 is actually Visa. And then my third biggest position is Realty Income at £2,100. And then there's a steep drop off after that, with Microsoft being the fourth biggest at £1,300. So if we take a look at the portfolio transactions month on month, in October, I added £856 in stock value to the portfolio, although I did add £1,000 into the portfolio at the end of the month. So I actually added £319 to my position in VWRL, which would be 3 shares. I added £431 to my Visa position, which I believe is 2 shares. And I added £105 to my Franklin ETF position, which I'm not sure how many shares that is. I think it might be 3. Then if we take a look at the dividend calendar, we can see I received 2 dividends. One was from GSK for £11.25, and one was from Realty Income for £8.14, for a total of £19.39. And if we take a look at what I might be receiving in November for dividends, I think the only dividend I might actually receive is Realty Income, so I'm probably going to be getting about £8. So that is the portfolio. Let me take you through the goals of the portfolio. So now that I've hit a £20,000 portfolio, I've updated my portfolio goal to be £50,000. Now I made a video on why I think I'm going to hit £50,000 next year, and you can watch that up here. I've added a new goal to my list, which is to max out my ISA in 2024-2025. My goal is to max out my ISA in 25-26, but to hit my goal of £50,000, I'm probably going to have to max out my ISA in 24-25. Now, I'm not really used to maxing out my ISA at all. I'm used to really only putting in £600 a month, and that takes me nowhere near maxing out the ISA limit of £20,000. If I want to hit my goal of £50,000, I'm going to have to put more money into the portfolio. So currently, I'm putting £600 a month into the portfolio, but as of October, so last month, I'm actually going to put that up to £1,000 a month, which might seem like a lot, but I live quite frugally, and I'm hoping that I can hit that goal. The next goal is £100 a month in dividends. I don't really expect that to be a short-term goal. I did used to think that it would require a £30,000 portfolio, but it might actually require a bit more money because my dividend yield is quite a bit lower. The next goal is 10 years of investing. Now that is just a sit and wait kind of goal. I think back to why I started this YouTube channel, and I think it was mainly due to keeping me on track and to invest every single month. And it's now been over a year of having this YouTube channel, and it's really good to see that when I first started making YouTube videos, my portfolio was around £7,000, and now I'm at over £20,000. And I think if I keep going, I can look back in 10 years' time or even 5 years' time, and I can see the massive growth in the portfolio, which I think will be amazing. And then my final goal of the portfolio is to make an ETF a core position of the portfolio. Now, I think I've actually hit that goal. ETFs are over 25%, and even though VWRL is sitting at 19%, I think I'm going to update this goal to say ETF 50%. Now, that might seem like quite a drastic goal, but I think that having ETFs as the core position of any portfolio is the right thing to do. And I think having small satellite positions in other stocks that you think might do well is a way to make investing interesting, and it could also produce some good gains. So that is the portfolio. Thank you for watching this far into the video. If you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up. Any suggestions on improvements to the video content or ideas for content going forward, then please give me a comment below and I'll give you a reply. And if you seriously enjoyed the content, then give me a subscribe. I'm trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I'm really, really close. And I just think it'll be such a cool milestone to hit in 2024. Oh, and if you want the spreadsheet, you can download it at the first link in the description. I did just make a video on how to use it and how to set it up, so that should help you. Thank you very much.